Welcome everybody. How's it going? It's your boy Kid9 here with another episode of the AniTokuHouse podcast, where I just talk about all things anime and tokusatsu, whatever comes to mind all day, every day, just dropping my thoughts left and right. And let's talk about one of the biggest things that for some of us otakus, weebs, fans of anime, fans of tokusatsu, and so on, have the biggest problem with, and that is the availability of the product. That's one thing that that's one thing for me that it hurts so much more. With anime, you're actually at least getting some anime. You're getting a good chunk of anime nowadays because it's reached a point where companies are now seeing people's desire to watch it and find and seek out the content. So while you may not get everything that you could ever want in terms of anime, in an ideal world, every anime released in Japan, in China, overseas in general, on the eastern side of the globe, we will also be able to get on the western side. That would be the best case scenario. We'll get dubs, subs, and everything. But that's not always the case. But at least it's better. And there's the genre of television that I think is reaching that similarity of what anime was back in the day, and what any niche genre and medium and whatever you want to call it was in its early stages, and that's tokusatsu. Right now, most people, when they hear the word tokusatsu, the first thing that comes to mind is probably Super Sentai and Kamen Rider. And those are probably two of the biggest things that just hound tokusatsu overall, and people just, that's all you can hear about. What's funny is that there's so much more, so many more shows that we get that falls in the realm of that. Tokusatsu is about special effects, and that's the genre itself. It's special effects genre, which is funny because that's almost, if you want to go super broad with it, that's pretty much anything and everything that you have. Now, with that, at the end of the day, it started to become more synonymous with costumes, with men and women in tights fighting bad guys and whatnot. It seems to have created a connotation of like the superhero genre, especially in terms of Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Ultraman, Superhumans. Man, I hate why we did this in the States. Superhumans, Samurai Cyber Squad, which is stupid. Just call it Gridman, for goodness sake. Um, which is what it is in Japan. You have Garo, you have all these other stuff, and so many more that I haven't even had the opportunity to dive into because of the limited availability. Um, what first got me into tokusatsu, which is probably the case for most Westerners, is Power Rangers. Power Rangers, thanks to Saban, is a adaptation of the Super Sentai series of the same name. At the same time, usually it would happen around like a year or two after the series would have aired in Japan, so they got time to be able to use the costumes and kind of come up with the story. That was Super Sentai, and there is the failed attempt at Max Rider, which was the Kamen Rider equivalent. Did it have potential? Probably. Was it executed well? Heck no. We all agree that thing was not that great, but it was something in the realms of, it was going to actually be in the universe of Power Rangers, which was dope as heck. Then you also got Big Bag Beetleborgs and VR Troopers, which is based off of Metal Heroes. You get so much more. And Tokusatsu, for me, as a young boy, growing up in the 90s, that's what it was all about. Tokusatsu, Power Rangers, and the like got me into mecha. And because of that, I started falling in love with mecha shows. And I drifted my way towards Gundam Gundam and other mecha series alike. And that's what was fun. I didn't know about it. And this is something that I believe anime in the early more like late 90s, early 2000s was starting to gain more steam, And that was the fact that for anime, a lot of the stuff that we got in the States was on Saturday morning cartoons, and we didn't know what it was called. It was another cartoon that they dubbed and subbed for us in the States to be able to watch as kids. They never advertised it as anime because that was not something that people really cared about at the time, the label of it. Although now it's a big thing in worldwide. And I think that for me is that's what needed to be able to get more international audiences for any kind of media genre of storytelling. And Tokusatsu is hitting that point where in full disclosure, I wish I could watch half the shows that comes out. Full disclosure, I'm a dork. But I wish half the stuff that comes out I can watch legally. I can watch uh because it's available to me. I didn't have to count on, hey, what's the next iteration of Power Rangers and how is it, going to be something fun. I've I've always find primarily the Japanese television, Japanese anime, and Japanese tokusatsu to be a really interesting thing because a lot of the times they go pretty hard in terms of the subject matter. They don't go all the way to like it's not like super dark, super heavy, but it gets there a lot of times, and it's not just dumbed down for kids, which is one of the best things you can do for television is to create something that anybody can watch at any time of their life. It doesn't have to be fully adult like, but it doesn't have to be fully kid friendly as well. And I love the medium balance that you get with tokusatsu in Japan. Um I actually you know I knew about tokusatsu because of Power Rangers, and I've learned as I grew up that came from Super Sentai. And my first series that I actually had a chance to watch from beginning to end is let me see if I say this right. Tokume Go let me try that again. Tokume Sentai Go Busters. I probably butchered that. Let me double check. Once again, it's one of those cases that I love I love the series, and it was so much fun. Yes, Tokumen Sentai Go Busters. Go Busters, oh my gosh, it blew my mind about the possibilities of Super Sentai, about Tokusatsu, about what we're doing at the time, what we're doing wrong in the States with our adaptations of Power Rangers. Because a lot of the stuff that we get with Go Busters, it could get heavy. It gets heavy a lot of the times, especially towards the end of the season. Oh my god, the end of that series is crazy intense. Some of the decisions that the Rangers themselves have to make, in the last 10 plus episodes, especially those last, handful, 3, 4, is such a like nerve wracking decision because you can see that happening in real life. You can see that happening in situations, in any kind of situation. You can see somebody going through that, like that that internal grief, that internal debate of like, is this right? Is this is what I'm doing right? And with Go Busters, I was like, man, this is super dope. The action was well done. The Zord battles, Mecha battles was amazing, and I wanted to and that was what got me to then go to the next series after that, which was Q Rangers. Um, I started watching Q Rangers. I started to fall in love with Q Rangers. It was so much fun to watch, and then again, it started to pick up pace. It started to pick up pace. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to finish that Q Rangers because I hit a point where like I didn't want to continue watching the show the way I was watching it. It was always hard to get to, and I'm trying to find better ways to watch it. But at the end of the day, it's like you would want something official to happen more consistently, more frequently, but we're not getting that. And hopefully in the future that changes. But with Key Rangers, like it's such a fun show, and the mecha designs is pretty dope and everything. The theme of it is great. There's elements about it that could have been worked on, and I think it's one of those things that Power Rangers and probably more so Super Sentai, because that's what they're adapting it from, has a real problem with, and that's the Red Ranger syndrome. That's what I would like to call it, is where so much focus is put on the Red Ranger themselves that you end up with just an uninteresting story from the rest of the character's point of view. Because it can start off as like you're paying attention to other characters left and right, and like you're finding out what they're doing and what they're about. But then it hits a point where it's like Red Ranger focus, Red Ranger focus, Red Ranger focus. And I think the biggest problem that you get if that was to happen a lot is if the Red Ranger is always getting the power up, then you feel like this is such a waste, because you know what's going to happen. You know the big, the leader of the team half the time is red, which is not even half. It's pretty much all the time. Where the Red Ranger is getting these Power Rangers, it's like that's cool, but there's other characters involved, and I will always say this for me personally when I learned this when I was watching Power Rangers is um 3-man teams are so much more interesting to watch. I can tell you that for sure. 3-man teams, the reason why I believe 3-man teams are so much more interesting is because a lot of the time the focus is on just three characters initially learning about what they're doing, what they're about, and then slowly but surely you start to get other plot points and other stories that would eventually lead to getting more information. Like it will lead to the growth of the team, but it also lends itself to like, oh, now how does this person incorporates themselves in the group, in the unit, and how are they different from others? You know what I mean? And that's where I enjoyed that aspect, is because you are having so much fun watching these three characters just go at it, do their thing. You're learning about their dynamic, their Zord combinations, and then all of a sudden you introduce two new characters, one or two new characters, where you're seeing their dynamic typically outside of them being Rangers. You're seeing the people's dynamic with the characters themselves before eventually they become Rangers, and then that flips everything over. A lot of times what that happens is you will get characters that probably already know that the other characters are Rangers, but duh. And that's the fun part. And I think 3-person teams should be the way to go. I think in the future, I think the focus should be more on. I believe the focus should be more on a smaller team, grow that chemistry with that team, and then get that team together. One series that actually interests me that I haven't had the opportunity to watch is one of the more recent series of Sentai, and I'm trying to remember. It's the series. It's a series with the cops and robbers, um, and I want to say it's Patron Rangers versus Lupin Rangers. Yes, if I'm not mistaken, Patron Rangers versus Lupin Rangers, where it's a 3 versus 3 team in a sense. And I find that interesting. I haven't had a chance to check it out, but I am excited to see how it works out, because it's a unique take on Super Sentai, at least from what I know of, and it actually goes into the whole 3-person team that I find fascinating as heck. So hopefully, when I get the chance, when I get back to diving into Tokusatsu, that's something that I start to enjoy, and that's something that's going to be fun to watch. But once again, Super Sentai is probably the biggest, easiest gateway into Tokusatsu. Now, there's also a series called Kamen Rider, and I'll dive into that another time. But back to the topic at hand: availability. I right now the only company that we know for sure that is actively subbing tokusatsu franchises is Shout Factory, legally subbing shows. Part part of the problem with that is more along the lines that Shout Factory is literally starting from older series first to newer series, which is great to get that back catalog. Although what's funny is they started off with um, Super Sentai. They started off with Zero Rangers, even though there's probably what 10 other seasons before that. I understand why they start off with Zero Rangers because of the fact that it is Mighty Morphin, and that's what most people are going to identify themselves with. But I do hope that they get to a point where they're going to go back even further and get the other series. Because I would love to watch those. Sorry, excuse me. But yeah, you have Shout Factory, which is a great thing. They actually have a Twitch channel, and I enjoy that now because I can like kind of come across it, and then Toku Tuesdays or Sentai Sundays, I can come across it and watch an episode of Super Sentai or Ultraman. I hope there's a little bit more diversity. I really do hope that Shout Factory takes the next step and they're able to get more Common Rider series. They've been subbing some, but wish that there's more. They're doing it legally, so a lot of the process is just them getting the rights to be able to sub it and being able to put it out and profit. So I understand that and I respect that, and I definitely want to start buying a lot of the Sentai series and whatnot, and Common Rider and stuff like that. So hopefully it goes. I really want. I need to start watching this stuff again because it's just so much fun, so much intrigue and whatnot. I honestly hope I hope either Shout Factory finds a way to connect with um anime channels like um I don't want Netflix. Netflix is a whole nother beast. Netflix does a decent job of having like a nice sized catalog of stuff, but the problem with Netflix is typically they tend to hold off on releasing their content until they get the entire series, until they can sub it to multiple languages, because it's a lot easier to throw everything together and have all your closed caption for multiple languages all at once instead of just doing it piece by piece, because a lot of times you probably have to do bits and bits of updates here and there. So that's the only thing that would be annoying about it. But then again, if that's the only option I have, I am down for it. What I would love to see is Crunchyroll actually had the rights to Ultraman for a little while. They had, I think it was Ultraman Orb, if I'm not mistaken. Or it was G'd. They had like 1 or 2 seasons of Ultraman that they were actually subbing live or simul subbing essentially, and I that's what needs to happen. I think at this point we should start looking outside of just anime to sub shows, to sub movies and all that stuff. We should be looking at other series, other franchises, other genres, and go deep into it. Because what we have learned, and at least what I believe we learn as a society, is that there's something for everybody. There's a market for everyone, and this is the Anatoku House podcast, a place for otakus, a place for us to just kind of weeb out and go crazy. You know what I mean? And otakus is universal. It's not just anime. It's not just tokusatsu. It's football, basketball. It's drama. It's international film. There are so many people that wants to be able to watch whatever they can and have the opportunity to broaden their horizon. But when your horizon is being diminished because of the availability factor, that's gotta suck. And I want everybody to be able to watch everything. I would be damn sure honest that if there was a service that was at a reasonable price that I knew I can get tokusatsu, anime, all in one service, or even it was just Tokusatsu, and they simul subbed all of the incoming Toku series from the international seas, I would hands down at a reasonable price give it to me for about $5 to $10. I'll do it. It might $5 probably because it is limited, but I would love to get that. I would love to be able to go and watch it and be like, "Yo, this new episode of Super Sentai is coming out." Because there are plenty of people that would love to be able to watch Super Sentai legally. As long as the quality of the subs is great, the quality of the picture is amazing. I guarantee you, there are a ton of people that would love to be able to watch Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Ultraman, all that stuff legally. And it's always crazy to me, especially where fan subs. Pardon me. It's always interesting for me. Fan subs does a really good job of being able to put out subs with general accuracy of shows within a few hours of them airing. One of the biggest problems you will often get with that is the quality of the picture may not be as great. It may not be as great as what you will be getting normally if they were actually able to get the product itself full HD in its highest capacity and is able to basically create what they need to create and sub and all that stuff. But it's also different because if you were able to get that, a lot of times you'll get for the international stuff, for anime and whatnot, for stuff that's legally done, you'll often get the script. At least this is what I would assume happens. I don't know the inside and outs, unfortunately, but I would assume you oftentimes get the script of the series, and you will get the original language script. So you'll get the Japanese, the Korean, Chinese, whatever's the origin of languages. You'll probably oftentimes get that script, that final script to this show, movie, and so on, where then someone can translate. Now, that's the ability that will allow for anybody to be able to do a quick and dirty translation of a lot of that series, because quick and dirty, I hate that word, but that would allow to the ability to speed up the translation because you have it now right there in front of you and you can go through it. You can go through it and you can go as close to word for word as possible. And then it's just an element of putting the visuals to it. And that's the biggest thing. But again, I honestly wish that more stuff, we started to become more open as a, a as a planet, like as a world, as we learn there is so much more out there in terms of television that we get the opportunity to be able to watch anything and everything. I would love to be able to watch all these tokusatsu shows. I would love to be able to watch all the anime that we don't normally get. And it's not even a case of like just to be able to watch it. You know what I mean? Like, to have the option to be able to watch it subbed is more than anything. Is more than anything I would dream of, because there's so many shows that nobody will pick up the rights to, but you hear everybody talk about because people find ways, and you're just like, whoa, dude, I would love to see that, but you don't get anything for a little while. And hopefully, as time progresses, we start to understand as a society, like, let's give everyone the opportunity to watch whatever they want, to be able to watch whatever they want, however they want. Let's create a legal site to be able to watch all the stuff conjugated, any international stuff, different language. And it's not just for us in the States, in the Western hemisphere, but also those in the Eastern, there may be a ton of shows that they would love to be able to watch, but probably can't because of licensing issues. Let's start opening up the borders, opening up what we see, how we see it, and how much of it we see, and give everybody an opportunity to watch whatever they want. because that's the way things should be. I would love to be able to watch other series. There's so many other series, tokusatsu series that I hear about or at least seen or read about that I'm like, dude, I want to watch this. Um, but it's not easy to find. That's it. It's the same thing with manga. It's the same thing with anime. It's the same thing with manhwa. Like it's hard to get whatever you would like to get because at the end of the day, it's a business. You want to be able to produce and put out something that you know you will make money. You know, although I would love it if it was more like, hey, let's put something out that we can enjoy. But that's never going to happen. You want to guarantee a profit, and that's understandable. But hopefully, again, availability, accessibility to be able to watch more shows grow. Because in my opinion, that's going to allow for the fan bases to grow even higher, even further beyond than what it is now. You know, I'm a huge fan. I grew up as a fan of the Power Rangers, and it wasn't until watching Super Sentai that I realized this can be more. It's like I've always felt like Power Rangers was great, but like there's always can be more. And Beast Morphers is as the first season I've seen, Beast Morphers has blown away my expectations. Hasbro knows what's up. They know that this is a show that is still more geared towards kids, but they can at least give the adults something to be able to enjoy. And I hope that's the future of the Rangers. I hope that's the future of Tokusatsu as a whole. But to get there, to even make it even further, we definitely need more shows to be able to watch legally on sites. So, once again, I appreciate you guys for listening to this episode of AniTokuHouse. Once again, this is just me blabbing about whatever I feel like, whatever I think about, whatever is on my head, in my head, whatever I'm trying to say, and just put my thoughts out there because at the end of the day, let's just have a conversation. I would love to talk to anybody out there who has a thought about this topic, availability, and anime, tokusatsu overall, because I think it's something that's important. Do you guys think that companies are doing enough to give us what we need, or do you believe that there's more that can be offered? I personally believe that we definitely need more, especially in the tokusatsu realm. Excuse me, sorry. Ideally, I believe that to grow any kind of genre medium of international success or just any international um, series movie, you have to be able to put it out there to the masses and just give it the opportunity for multiple eyes to see. That's what allowed people to fall in love with anime. Saturday morning cartoons. As a kid, you didn't know what it was. You just watched it because it was cool. It had dope characters, cool animation, and you fell in love with it. Guess what? Over time, as you started to watch more and more shows like it, you started to notice the animation is what's drawing you to it, and then you figured out that it's called anime. You get series like Power Rangers, where you start enjoying, oh, this is so much fun, superheroes, boom, 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 giant mecha, giant robots, and then you were like, oh, this is based off a series in Japan. Oh, this is actually really dope because the mecha that can push you into Gundam and super robots and all that stuff. So I would love that. I would love for more people to be able to find and access this greater realm of international stories. We are a country, a world of just several different kinds of people, and I hope that we can find a way to open the floodgates and just broaden everyone's horizon. At the end of the day, let's communicate. Let's have fun. Half the time it's just about having fun and enjoying what you like, right? Am I right? Like, you have something you like, you want to be able to watch it. And if you really like it, you would love to be able to watch it legally. Listen to it legally. So I appreciate you guys for listening. Once again, it is your boy Ken and I. This is episode whatever of the podcast. Until I get super deep into the format, thank you for listening. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Take care. Be safe. And at the end of the day, peace and be easy.